let's talk about some of the studies that we do know. We know that, for example, just what you're saying, brood mares are more at risk for developing colic because they have changes in the microbiome during that periparturient period, the time around where they're getting ready to foal. So Keith and I know as practitioners, there's a lot of changes in there. People don't even recognize the changes. The fact that they start bringing the mare in. The mare used to be out. Now she's in. Mm-hmm. Now her social setting has changed. Now her diet has changed. So all these changes are changing her microbiome, right? When that foal is born with a naive immune system. It's born with a blank slate in its digestive tract. There's nothing there. So that microbiome is anxious to develop, right? And so it's critical that it develops in a proper way. That protects that foal from disease, right? You go on into weaning. Weaning's a big period of stress and a big time of disease for foals. That microbiome is being changed again, right? And it's being changed because of their diet, because they're being separated from their dam, their whole social setting. If people don't think stress is real, stress has a real physiologic effect on us and our physiology. Things happen. Weaning, training, right? So
antibiotics with problems that happen with foals. Now we've taken a very immature microbiome, developing microbiome, and we've unfortunately had to give a foal antibiotics. So
Wipe
now
them all out
an
from
indiscriminate killer of microbes.
right? So we have drugs. So let's talk about the drugs. We know that antibiotics can last 30 days. The impact of giving a course of antibiotics can last for 30 days before a normal microflora can expand back to what it was. It disrupts it that much, right? We know that pain relievers, anti-inflammatories, disrupt the microbiome, okay? We know that certain types of horses have a different microbiome than others. Horses that have equine metabolic syndrome. That's a huge problem for us. These are the overweight, easy keeper horses. Their microbiome is different than other microbiomes. And people just think, well, you just got to keep the weight off of them, make sure they don't founder. Yeah, but you have to tend to their intestinal tract because their intestinal tract is so different that if you put a normal diet into what most animals would consider a normal diet, they'll founder and get sick off of it,
And
right?
that, I want to go off on a tangent here because that's really interesting. You just said so different. That was one of the things that really hit me early on when we started learning more and more about the microbiome, how unbelievably personal your microbiome is. Like, it's almost like a fingerprint.
Oh, it is.
That yours is vastly different than mine because of where we grew up, how we grew up, what we ate, what we were exposed to. It's so amazing that we have an absolute personal microbiome. And it's also why if you travel outside of your geographic region, the farther you go, you're going to have gut issues. You go down into Guatemala and Mexico and in Central America, you got to be careful what you eat.
Right.
Because you're going to get violently ill.
And even if you do, as often as we go down for our giving trips, even if you do take care of your microbiome, you may experience some shifts in what is normal for you.
Because you're throwing, a clan of microorganisms into your ecosystem, and it's a war immediately.
I think it's important to say, I said that there's maybe about 90% similarity across horses, but let's also look at our genes, and we're more than 90% the same as a chimpanzee, right? So 90%, it sounds like a lot, but it's actually that difference. The
1%?
Yeah, those
or 10%?
They're major, right? So our difference is, you're exactly right to your point, that every horse is different. Whether it's genetics, where it lives, what it eats, how old it is, all those things create its own deal. So that sort of alludes to how do we take care of it, because it's not a one-size-fits-all deal. And it's not so much of a, well, you're low in this, we need to add that. I mean, that's the way a lot of people think in supplements. They say, oh, I'm going to measure this, and you're a little low here, so I need to put some more of that in. Well, the lowness when we look at your microbiome, if your levels are off, the lowness is not necessarily a deficiency in that. It's an expansion of something else, right? And so when we go to create stabilization in these microbiomes, we don't need to think about it as I need to replace something that's low. You need to think about it more of I need to provide the right substrate and prebiotics, and I need to provide the right sentinels and the NATO forces of probiotics that can go in there and harmonize that digestive tract, and so that normal level, if we're traveling down in Central America, we all jam up on our probiotics because what we want is those levels to be super high and our prebiotics levels to be super high, so that when we do get that, onslaught of foreign, microbes, that we have something that's in there to fight those off and to keep ours protected. Same thing happens for a horse. So we have the ability to sort of provide them with the bulletproof vest, to provide them with a SOS pack of, ready-made meals and, things with prebiotics, right? So we have the ability to do that. You just first have to realize all the different things we talked about. Lifestyle, talk about age, talk about medications, talk about genetic predispositions. All this stuff is affecting the microbiome. So when people say, well, that just goes off when horses are on antibiotics or whenever they're just sick, then, but that doesn't occur in every horse. It's not true. It occurs in all these situations. In every month, we are learning more about things that shift the microbiome. So while we feel like we know a lot right now, as I say, in 10 years, our body of knowledge will be so much bigger. And people, we won't have to explain the value of preventative care and taking care of the microbiome. It's going to be like, if you're not doing that, you're crazy. It's like you're not even eating the basic core of what the horse should be getting hay, right? The horse should be getting probiotics along with its hay. And people will know that in 10 years. It's going to take potentially that long for people to see the value. Think about other things in life that we don't see the value in when it's not an issue. And a big one that I talk about a lot is things like Homeland Security. People begin to get really blasé about Homeland Security, right? Nothing's happening. That's because it's working. We're not seeing people flying into buildings anymore because of Homeland Security. So people don't see value in preventative care because they are firefighters by nature. And so we have to, as Full Bucket, as clinicians for Keith and I, we have to explain the value of why it's important that you take care of your microbiome and your horse's microbiome and your dog's microbiome. Because if you're not, you're waiting for a plane to fly into a building. And you're sitting there like, it could happen. I don't know. What can I really do? Oh, you can do something. And in 5 or 10 years, you will feel compelled to do something because the knowledge will be, but the wave's already built. The crest this is not going to be the wave that goes by that never crests, right? That's what people always think about when they're, early adopters, they grab a wave that it never crests and it was not a big deal. No. This thing is so big that the wave's already formed, it's already crested, it's waiting, we're in that bell curve, we're waiting for the general population to see the value. But if you're a late adopter, I'm sorry, you got a lot of disease that's getting ready to happen in your life, your animal's life, and you're going to be sitting there on the sideline going, I don't know why this happened. Lightning struck.